Hi, everybody, and welcome to the DRF Race of the Day for Wednesday, August the 26th. I'm Dan Illman, along with Mike Beer. The feature race at Saratoga on Wednesday is the Mahony Stakes. Race number 7, 5.5 furlongs on the Mellon Turf Course. Before we get to the analysis, head on over to the DRF Saratoga handicapping shop, where you'll find PPs, picks, clocker reports, betting strategies, and all the must-have tools to win big at Saratoga. Head on over to drf.com/spa for all the details. Here's the field for the Mahony Stakes. You can download free Formulator past performances for this race on the Race of the Day event page at drf.com. Access them, handicap along with us. Mike, the horse on the far outside, the 10 turned aside as the morning line favorite. He's sort of a questionable starter for Linda Rice. There's a big money race coming up at Kentucky Downs that Linda might be shooting for.
Yeah, I mean, based on the races that horse has run too, Dan, I wouldn't be surprised if they shot for the big money. He's a really good horse. He's basically run really well in all of his starts for Linda.
Let's start things off with a horse that we've always had an affinity for, the number 1, By Land and Sea. And as we take a look at the Timeform US pace projector, we see that By Land and Sea is going to need a little bit of help up front. He's the number 1 in the red chiclet. By Land and Sea had a really nice 2-year-old campaign from only 3 starts. He got very sick after that race. He came back in this effort at Parks last time out. Boy, Steve Glaceras found a great spot against fellow Pennsylvania breds, just completely overmatched horses. And By Land and Sea was able to get to an uncontested lead, and he showed he could still run.
Yeah, he did. He just dominated this field. It was a nice step forward as far as figures go in his 3-year-old debut. He's too good for these horses, Dan. He's 2-5. He wins like it. But as you mentioned, he was a really good 2-year-old too. I mean, he got on my radar actually in his debut at Saratoga, going this distance on this turf course, where he ran a really good third that day. And then, of course, he just went on from there and got better going longer distances. It's sort of interesting that they're cutting him back for this because he could go long. But either way, I just think this horse is really good, and he might be a fair price in this race.
And there should be enough pace to properly set him up in here. There does seem to be some speed, and he has a nice price on David Aragona's morning line, 8-1. The number 2 is Flapjack, going out for Tyler Gaffalione, Jack Sisterson. This horse ran in the quick call last time out, and he saved ground in the pocket and kind of was one-paced. Maybe he never got optimal clearance, but it was just sort of an even run for Flapjack. I still think there's something here with this horse.
I do too. It's funny because I really don't know what his best game is. I don't know if it's turf or dirt. I don't know if it's long or short. It seems like he can kind of do anything. And I thought all in all, when they cut him back to sprint on turf last time, he ran pretty well. I mean, that was a really good field. He was relatively close to the pace, and he was staying on through the stretch. I mean, he just missed getting second in there at the end. He ran another good race, and that just seems to be what he does, Dan. Doesn't matter where Jack Sisterson places him. He just shows up and runs this horse.
Let's watch Competitive Saints' first start against Winners, first start on turf, first start off a little bit of a layoff. He's in the green cap and the yellow sleeves, and he was able to work out a very nice pace-tracking, ground-saving trip. That being said, he's going to split horses here, and he's going to come get an 8-5 shot, fast getaway, a game effort for Competitive Saint, and he got a competitive figure.
Yeah, he really did. I mean, he's 2 for 2 now. This race did come back relatively fast, and he was, as you say, very game to get it done against some older horses. And, the horses that were in the photo with him, they've combined to win a lot of races. So they're both pretty good. I still think this is a tougher race for this horse, but so far he's made no mistakes.
Power Up Painter, the number 4, like the morning line favorite, the 10 turned aside, trained by Linda Rice. Power Up Painter, 2 starts back in his first race as a gelding, got a perfect closer's trip. I mean, everything Jose Lezcano did was right. He was able to sort of just weave in and out through a maze of horses, didn't have a straw in his path, and he got up at 15-1. Last time out, the waters were a little bit deeper, and he's the kind of horse that needs a bit of luck as he steps up in class.
He's going to need a trip like he got 2 starts back, as you mentioned. He did not, I will, to say this about his last race, not that he ran that well in there, but he did not have a good trip in there. He didn't break well from the gate. He steadied on the backstretch and lost position. I think that trip just didn't really work out for him. 2 back, he did run well. It's one of those races where when you watch it, it's a visually impressive win. But he really did have a great setup in there. They were blazing in front of him, and he came with a big run through the stretch. And I'm sure that's what he's going to hope for here, Dan. There is pace in this race. He's going to try and sit it out and make one run.
But the argument is he may not even be the best closer in the race because right next door is one of the better closers. That's the 5, Old Chestnut, who was a rallying second in the Grade 3 quick call last time out, and he just didn't have a lot of speed from the gate. That's him. He swung widest in the stretch, and he stayed on. He just got up for second at the very end of that race. He's a solid horse. I wonder if he's sort of plateaued at this 83, 84 buyer level. He might need a little bit of a forward move.
Yeah, I wonder how much better he can get too. But listen, overall, he's pretty good. He was a speed horse early in his career, and that worked for him. And now he's turned into more of a closer, and he has run pretty well in his last 2 starts. He is going to have to run probably a little bit better to beat this field.
Island Commish, the number 6, is 15-1 on the morning line with Joel Rosario aboard, and he's a graded stakes winner. He won around 2 turns in his seasonal debut at Gulfstream Park. Last time out in the Jersey Derby, contesting the pace and tiring. He is turning drastically back in distance. We usually don't like these big cutbacks on the turf, but it's not like he's going to be completely outpaced. He does have some speed.
I mean, I guess we'll see what happens. You're right about that. He does have some speed. I don't really know if that helps him or hurts him in here, Danny. He's a horse who seems like he wants to be forward in his races, and he probably just can't get there against this field. There's a lot of speed, especially to his outside. We'll see what happens. He's not for me, this horse.
Another horse that's done some good things at Gulfstream Park this year, the 7, Cajun Casanova, a stakes winner 3 starts back, coming from off the pace. They put him on the engine last time out in the My Frenchman. He sort of ran okay, just tired at the end of that race. I think he's probably at his best when they take him off of the pace. But that being said, this horse was claimed for $50,000 earlier in the year and has to prove he fits at this level.
Yeah, I thought this was a tough spot for him. I mean, he is 2 for 4 sprinting on the grass. He's won 2 stakes races sprinting on the grass, and he's shown that he can do it with the lead and without the lead. So, I mean, there are things to like about him. He's a pretty nice horse. He just happens to have landed in a really tough race.
There was a lot of buzz regarding Maven before he made his career debut during the 2019 Keeneland spring meeting. And as a typical Wesley Ward first-time starter, he won. And then he went to France and he won a Group 3 over there. He has talent. He made his return off a lengthy layoff, almost a year in this race at Keeneland, and he just simply had too much speed for these horses. We watch Maven get right to the front. He turns into the stretch. He doesn't need to change leads against these horses. He's just better than they are, and he got a 90 buyer, and he's going to be up close to the pace again.
Yeah, I mean, he's a speed horse. He's got a lot of speed. They're going to send him from the gate. That's what they did here off the layoff at Keeneland. I mean, they did not take it easy on this horse. His rider sent him from the start. This horse was too fast for this field, and he earned a big figure too, Dan. I mean, he's basically run well in all of his races. He won that Group 3 in France, and I don't know how good a field that was. But if you go back and watch the replay, he didn't even break that great from the gate in that race, but he still was too fast for those horses. I mean, I got to believe he's dangerous in here, even with all the other speed signed on.
He has speed, and perhaps his prime protagonist from a pace standpoint is the 9, Jack and Noah, who, when he is able to get to the lead and control things, is very tough, as we saw in the Circat 2 starts back when he defeated Turn Decide. Now, last time out in the quick call, he was involved in a pace battle with Turn Decide and another horse, and he was the first one to throw in the towel. That was kind of a disappointing performance in my eyes, and if he's battling with Maven early, maybe that takes some of the starch out of him at a relatively short price.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. We'll see if he can bounce back this time. You're right. He was very disappointing last time. The excuse for him would be, in my opinion anyway, just that he just didn't break from the gate that day for whatever reason, because generally speaking, he's been a very good gate horse, and he did not break in the quick call. He got away last, and then they rushed him up, and he was basically done midway on the turn in there. Very disappointing last time, but we know he's better than that.
Let's watch the quick call. Turn Decide won that race. I think there were some questions whether 5.5 would be too sharp for Turn Decide. Well, it wasn't. He got right up close to the pace 3 wide. He's already struck the front. You're going to see Old Chestnut on the far outside grind up for second. Flapjack's in the black cap down towards the inside. But Turn Decide is a very comfortable winner despite hopping back to his left lead late in the game. And even though he draws a tough outside post position, if he runs here, he's probably the horse to beat.
I think he is the horse to beat. He just really ran well in the quick call last time. Absolutely dominated that field. And, it's funny, Dan, because prior to that, Jack and Noah had beaten him 3 times. And that's, I don't want to knock Jack and Noah at all, but there were some circumstances really in those races that worked against Turn Decide. You knew that he was good enough to go with a horse like Jack and Noah, and he proved it last time.
Sky of Hook has entered main track only, so we'll throw it to our picks for the Mahony Stakes, the Wednesday DRF race of the day. If Turn Decide runs, I think he's going to be too much for this field. If Turn Decide scratches, I think Maven's Speed is going to be too much for this field. So for me, it's either Turn Decide or Maven. You're sticking with By Land and Sea. It's a very interesting placement by a very good trainer cutting this horse back in distance.
It is interesting. We'll see what he does. I just think this horse is good. I think he fits right in with this field. And he is a horse who showed last year that he can sit off the pace and still produce a good run. He'll probably have to do that in here. I guess the worry with him is then he'll just get completely outrun from the gate. I hope that doesn't happen. I think if he can keep this field in contact, though, he's got a big shot at it.
110.82 for Mike, 10.853 for me. The Wednesday DRF race of the day, the Mahony Stakes, has an approximate post time of 4:12 Eastern. Good luck.